Everybody hear me? Yes. Right, why I'm following him, I don't know. That was amazing. I've not got any demos, I've not got any code, but I would like to follow a similar thing to what he was saying. So basically, I called it a state of play. There's been a lot of videos called state of play, but it works. I'm talking about the state of gaming, so why not? Okay, so we'll start with brief history of JavaScript, kind of. There's been a lot of Flash games in the past, so obviously there's not much JavaScript history. But if you have a look at this Tetris video, you'll see that everything was DOM-based, and it was quite ridiculous. You can see it goes through every single one, every cube is a different thing. And obviously, we invented Canvas, which will be in the next video. Now, I think we need to be careful when we're looking at what technologies we're using, because we could have used anything, and DOM wasn't made for this, same as floats weren't made for layout. And I think when developing technologies, we need to think carefully. And lately, there's been a lot of rushing about. So you can see the crazy JavaScript, which isn't even really neat, but I'm sure it's amazing at its time. This was Netscape 4, so years ago. You can see here it's saving the data, which is one line using Canvas. Right. So now this is the Canvas demo. You can see it's just one canvas instead of thousands of DOM elements. So obviously better for performance. You all know this. This is just a history. Neater code, and using objects and things like that, which probably also weren't really designed for this kind of thing, but oh well. Yeah, that's okay. Let's watch this. It does seem to be more code, but it's easier to understand, and obviously we all kind of do this style now-ish. This was last year, year before, I think this was made. Okay, so now I want to talk about WebRTC. That demo was incredible, and that showed get user media. Get user media is not the only thing. We have peer connections. Now, there's been a lot of peer-to-peer spoken about this morning, and I think it's an amazing thing for games as well as the whole of the web, because we don't need servers, kind of. And okay, here it is. Oops. No, sorry, I've gone to the wrong slide. Right. Oh. Sorry. Okay, so you've got the three different types. You've got the peer connections, which is what connects each other. You've got the media streams, which is to get user media. And you've got data channels, which is useful for sending any types of arbitrary data, so JavaScript objects, whatever you want, such as scores. Okay, so you've got peer-to-peer is perfect for multiplayer games because you can send to each other rather than send to the server, then send back, and you know the latency problems there. And it's also, yeah, reduces server load. But privacy is a big issue. Not so much for games, but when it comes to the rest of the web, privacy is definitely an amazing part of peer-to-peer. And when I said kind of earlier, that's the problem. You do kind of need a server in that you need to be able to get everybody connected through WebRTC. You can do that manually, but if anybody's seen SDP, you've kind of got that much of a JavaScript object, and they're horrible. So you use a server, but the data doesn't really go through the server as such, because you just send the data that connects the clients, IP addresses and things like that. But I put preventing cheating because obviously if you're sending the scores to each other, it's easy to just change the scores, which I think is one thing that we really need to look into and see if there's a way around it. If anybody knows of a way, let me know. Computer vision, yeah, you saw some amazing demos. I was going to try and get a demo for a project that I've been working on at home. And basically what it does, it's not ready yet, unfortunately. There's some major bugs that I couldn't fix this weekend. But basically it recognizes your hands. So if you say you've got drums, you could bash the drums and then use the Web Audio API to play the drums back and have, obviously, WebRTC so you can play multiplayer. And that's just one of these technologies that it's possible now on some browsers, not all of them. It's not perfect. But it is possible, and we need to look into, A, if there's reasons to do this, B, if it's fun, and C, if people can use it. Because I know most of you probably use the Leap Motion. They are amazing, but they're quite hard to use, because you've got to have your hands up all like this, and especially if you're trying to tap something, it is very accurate, but only if you are good at using it. So I think we need to be quite careful about how we use the technologies, which not many people seem to think about. But Web Audio API, I presume most of you have used it. It's insane. It literally lets you do anything with audio. You can analyze things, make it louder and everything else, but it uses routing, so you can get, say, the analyzer box and route it through, and then you can change it, and it's very much like real-world audio, how if you had an amp, that's how it works. You just plug it into a guitar, and off you go. And talking of guitars, as you saw earlier, you can live input, which is another thing in gaming that hasn't really been used in HTML5 much, but I can see it being used because we've all played SingStar or Rock Band or Guitar Hero or any of the others, which lets you play an instrument, or a Rocksmith, that lets you play a real instrument, or the others let you play fake instruments as such. And that's a really fun kind of gameplay that you don't see much of on the web. So I'd like to see what people can do with that. But there's lots of other types. Loads and loads of other types of technology. And it kind of worries me that there are so many different types, because even just operating systems, that was hard enough to try and get everything working, and then we kind of fixed that with the web and other languages. And then we got mobiles. That was another big issue, kind of there fixing that. But there's so many technologies that we could be using, but do we need to? Do we want to? And it just worries me, I think, that everything is moving so quickly that, A, we're not able to keep an eye on what's out there because we don't really know about it because there's so much of it. And B, I don't think there's enough time to think and find what to do with it before the new ones come out. So I've not really got any solutions, but I would like us to start thinking a lot more about just how many technologies there are and trying not to just make them willy-nilly as such, because there's so many out there that already do what we do. And obviously I've had to whiz through this because he covered all of what I had to say. But where do we go now? We've seen so many different device APIs today that I think it's obvious that devices are the way. But I would really like people to think about just how you use them, because accelerometers, they're easy. We can use them without hurting our hands. Leap Motion, it looks like it's easy, but it's not. And Oculus Rift, you've got health issues. There's been loads of motion sickness. So yeah, just I'd like to think about that. And that's it really, because I wasn't able to show you my demo. So thank you.